Hi guys, my life. How you guys doing? I think it's time for guitar lesson, but maybe a little different than a lot of them, but similar to one I did earlier, just like the second one of its type, is a chord lesson on chords. Because I've learned a bunch of stuff about chords since I made that lesson, so I'll teach it to you guys if you guys want to listen. And if you don't know it already, otherwise I can't teach it to you. Yeah, so I've done, I did my Death trilogy. I couldn't, if I'd have done all three at once, it would have taken me longer to do them because I'd have to memorize them all at once. And plus, it would have taken me longer to play them because I would have to play them all. It would have been like an hour almost or whatever. So I broke it into three pieces. I hope you guys enjoyed it. 6 was 9 by the Jimi Hendrix Experience because he talks about death. In My Time of Dying by Led Zeppelin. And The End by The Doors. And I was in a very, very pencil mood today on my walk because I knew I was going to do The Doors, The End, when I got home. Similar but different to when I knew my mom was going to hit me or my dad. Well, I never knew when my dad was going to hit me. That's the thing. He just hit me when I least expected it. So I can't say that, can I? But when I knew my mom was going to hit me or slap me for something, when one year I was not allowed to wear shorts at school, and I did anyway, and I knew I was going to get it. And I know that feeling, negative anticipation. It wasn't that bad today, but it was similar, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this. I wanted to get it perfect as far as the lyrics. I didn't want to make a single mistake. Well, I stuttered a little bit on a couple of points. I did make a slight mistake at the beginning, adding a word, adding an extra phrase, and I made a stumble in the middle of it too when I started to say the wrong word, but had to change it. Other than that, I pretty much did it, and I didn't want to make any major lyric mistakes because that guy that sang that is, I believe, my dad, my natural dad, and I didn't want to do him the injustice of messing up his song. So I had a heavy weight on me on my walk today, and I think I did okay. And I knew the music part, I was just going to improvise it because it's basically improvised. The Doors did it improvise. When you improvise, it's not random notes. You know what to play. You know what notes work. You just have to make it up at the time. And interesting scale that Robbie uses and the band uses for that song. I'm not going to go into that. That's not the lesson right now, but interesting. In fact, I'll just say this little tidbit about it. Robbie tunes down to drop D tuning, but I use a guitar that's actually tuned to D, so I don't have to worry about the perfect fifth between the 6th and the 5th strings. I use my white guitar, which is already tuned to D, so I just played it like it was in E, but down a whole step to E, so it made it easier for me than it was for Robbie. Unless Robbie tuned down to D, I can't promise he didn't, but I don't think he did. I think he probably tuned to drop D, but I use the guitar tuned to D, so interesting. And plus it uses an interesting scale in D. It's actually based on D melodic minor, if you can believe that. How rare is that in rock? That's E melodic minor, but then again, I'm playing, and when I played the guitar tuned to D, I still played it as an E, only it was tuned down a whole step, so it sounded like a D. Wait. I love when rock uses different scales, and I love the uniqueness of that kind of approach. But I did, between doing If 6 Was 9 by the Jimi Hendrix Experience and In My Time of Dying by Led Zeppelin, I learned some more chord stuff I'd like to teach you guys. And so let's do that lesson. Before I do that, though, maybe I'm rambling, but I'm tired. Give me a break. Okay, one break coming up. Like in Unchained by Van Halen. When I grew up, I took lessons at Alto Music. You can Google that if you want. And the owner was a guy named Pete, and the manager was a guy named George. Pete was favorable to me. He said good things about me sometimes. George, give or take. But George said one time to someone that was talking to him about playing lead versus chords. And George, I remember him saying this like 35 years ago. George said something to the effect that, yeah, because lead is easier than playing chords. George said that. No, he was saying that playing lead is easier than doing chord. Now, I admit that that's sometimes true, but I don't think it's always true. I think it depends on how you approach your guitar. If you start with lead first, then rhythm is actually maybe more difficult, the rhythm guitar, because you have to do the lead first, and then you have to start over to play rhythm guitar. I did that. For 33 years, I played lead, and then for the last 11 years, I played rhythm, and then 33 and 11 is 44. That's how many years I played guitar. It's interesting, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 4, they're all master numbers. But if you start with rhythm, then rhythm isn't easy. Then rhythm isn't harder than lead. It's just all you do, and maybe an easier thing, in fact, because playing lead is harder to start with. But once you start to do lead and then do rhythm guitar, I think rhythm might be actually harder, because you already think you've done your work with your lead, and then all of a sudden you're going to start all over with rhythm, and it is difficult. You got to start with it as a beginner, and you got to start not knowing anything, and you got to use different brain muscles, especially if you're also singing and learning how to singing while you play, learning chords, learning rhythm theory, and learning songs, and putting all it together. Geez, it's just I admit, George, it's as hard as lead. It may be harder, I don't know, but it is very difficult. So I give you the kudos for making that comment 35 years ago, whatever. Now for the chord lesson. Okay, so first of all, In My Time of Dying by Led Zeppelin, I got some cool. Now someone remarked that he's a hater, and he said, you know, Jimmy Page used a slide guitar. I know that, but he tuned to G open tuning, and I don't want to do that just for that song. I'd have to change my strings, and I would go out of whack just to use a slide for that song. So I know he used a slide, but I try to do the best I can without using a slide and just play the right things anyway. But I learned some things about rhythm because of that approach. And one thing I learned, it may seem obvious, but nobody does it, is that you can do inverted power chords. A power chord is a perfect fifth and a perfect fourth. A perfect fifth below the perfect fourth. But you can invert that to do a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth. It's like if you had a minor and a major, they're inversions. Major is major third, minor third. Minor is minor third, major third. They're opposite in intervals. They both cover a perfect fifth, but one has major third, minor third, the other one has minor third, major third. They're inversions of each other. Well, in an octave, you have perfect fifth, perfect fourth, your common power chord, but you have perfect fourth, perfect fifth as an inversion of that, and it sounds good. I just kind of did that for Jimmy's part. I gave it the A natural power chord for the A because I think, you know, that's the main chord. I thought I would do that with a standard power chord. I like that. Hendrix did that a lot. He would in Spanish Castle Magic. He goes something like that, and again, let's see what. Wait, very far away. Very far away. I don't remember it. Oh yeah, I do now. Okay, so it goes. Wait, let me think again. Okay, let's start again. Something like it. No, it's very far away. That's it. Oh, it's far away. does. But that instead of going should be sound good, he does inverted power chords. Whatever he does for the lead there. But that inverted power chord, that's a fourth and a fifth, acting as though it were the power chord on the root, as if that it's a B, then an A, it's a B, then an E, then a B, but it's acting like a B, even though it's really could technically be considered an E power chord, but because the B is emphasized, and the fourth interval sounds good in between, it works. So, and Jimmy does that with In the Time of Dying. I goofed there. So he's using inverted. He could have done. But I'm going. So I love that idea because it's more of a perfect fourth versus a perfect fifth thing, and the difference is a whole step, not a half step, like the minor third versus major third. But it's similar. It's like call it in the negative harmony power chord. It works. I like it. Instead of going go. It's just a different sound. I like that sound. So thanks, Jimmy. Great. Now for Jimi Hendrix, two Jimmys. Both are my top three favorite guitarists. Eddie Van Halen's number two, rock guitarist that is. Jimi Hendrix, he does some chords where he when he goes to solo, he does like a cool thing. He does a C9 chord. When I say C9, I mean C dominant 9, same thing. That's standard position of a C. It's a C9. It's a fifth string, third fret, fourth string, second fret, third string, third fret, second string, third fret, and first string, third fret. Nothing unusual there. Then he plays one of the third step from the Sun chords. It's an E6. Like he does in Third Step from the Sun when he goes. It's an E because it has the E is the root if you want to play the low string, low six, open sixth string, and then it's got a G sharp on 11th fret of fifth string. It's got the E on the 9th fret of third string, and then it's got a B on the 12th fret of the second string. But then he's got the magic C sharp on the 11th fret of the fourth string to make it an E6. It could also be a C sharp minor seventh. It's just the same thing, but just called a different name. But I like to call it an E6. And then he goes to one of my favorite. It's what I call the second Hendrix chord that never got named. In A, it's A9. It's got the A9 voicing of the non-named Hendrix chord. It's this sixth string fifth fret, fourth string fifth fret, third string fourth fret, second string fifth fret, and first string fifth fret. It's an A9. Called that. And down to G, the same form when we down to G. So sixth string third fret, fourth string, third fret, second string, third string, second fret, second string, third fret, first string, third fret. And he goes back to the E6, and then then this time he does the C9, but he does the voicing that I'm calling the second Hendrix chord. This time it's on the eighth, sixth string, eighth fret, fourth string, eighth fret, third string, seventh fret, second string, eighth fret, first string, eighth fret. Someday I'll talk about that actual chord again later, but right now I'm just playing it. And then back to this, E6, and then he does the A9 again, then the G9 again, and then the E6, and then it somehow resolves into he goes wave on. It's something like this, which I'll get to later. Actually, I'll do it now. This is an interesting way to play an interesting chord. You can call it E13th. It's a beautiful chord, isn't it? Then it goes to B power chord, B major. B major slash E if you want to play E on the bass. Okay, I'll go over why they call that a 13th. In fact, I'll do that. I'll do that now, I guess. So yeah, and then it goes back into the main theme. And then there's another solo after that main theme is over. That is also a bunch of weird chords that are cool. And I said I would do the 13th, and I mean that. So let's cover that. Okay, you can do. Okay, the second solo section has a bunch of E stuff. It's basically simple, mainly just E chords, mainly, and with maybe one other chord there to just give it a trade back. But to figure out the E13th chord, first I'm going to show that you can do, and what he does, one of the first chords he does in the second solo section in the 6 was 9, he does an E6-9 chord. I really like that. Interestingly, it's the same thing. This E6-9 chord, it's open 6th string, 2nd fret of the 5th string, 2nd fret of the 4th string, 1st fret of the 3rd string, 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and 2nd fret of the 1st string. First of all, that is this. The reason that's first of all, it's actually the same. The top 4 strings are the same as if I played an F sharp. Do that right. F sharp, Hendrix chord, unnamed. F sharp 9. But it's just picking the E, the root instead. It becomes an E6-9. So if it were an F sharp 9th, it would be 2nd fret, 6th string, 2nd fret, 4th string, 1st fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 2nd string, and 2nd fret, 1st string. If you make E the root, then you have the chord where E's the root. It's E, open E, 2nd fret of the 5th string, 2nd fret of the 2nd string, 1st fret of the 3rd string, 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and 2nd fret of the 1st string. And that's easily seen as an E6-9 if you take just, first of all, the bottom 4 notes are just an E major. And then you can add, if you make that an E chord, you just play B and E, high top 2 strings. But you play those B and E, you play the B string and E string on the 3rd fret, you get an E7 sharp 9. It's got open fret, 6th string open, 5th string 2nd, 4th string 2nd, 3rd string 1st, 2nd string 3rd, and 1st string 3rd. If you move it up 2 frets, you have the Foxy Lady chord. It's an F sharp 7 sharp 9. But here it's an E7 sharp 9. Just move those top 2 notes down to the 2nd fret of the 2nd string and 1st string, and then instead of the E7 sharp 9, you get an E6-9. 6th, this is the 9. Here, this is the 7th, dominant 7th, or minor 7th, actually, minor 7th, which with the major chord, major third makes a dominant chord. This is the minor third, or sharp 9, hence dominant 7, sharp 9. All right. Now here's the trick to what's going on with the E13. You take an E6 9, and then all you do is move the major third up to the perfect 4th. Suddenly you've got, that's just barring on the 2nd fret of the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. All on the 2nd fret, all the first 5 strings with a low open 6th string. The reason why that's the reason that's an E13 is because you started with an E6 9, but you move the major third, which is G sharp, up to A, which is the 11th. It's the 4th, but it's also the 11th. If you add 7 to an interval, it's just another octave. So 4 plus 7 is 11. That makes an 11th. Then this makes a 6th, which if you add 7 to is the 13th, and this is the 9. So you have 6. You have the root, 5th root, and you have the 9th, and you have the 11th, which is here, and the 13th, which is here. These three, which make an F sharp minor triad by themselves, are the 9th, 11th, and 13th of E, and along with the root and the 5th, make a bar on the 2nd fret of the first 5 strings, which actually is just like if you, it becomes an F sharp minor pentatonic scale, those 5 strings alone, because if you added the F sharp at the bottom low 6th string, it would just give you a bar on all 6 strings on the 2nd fret. As we know, that is a minor pentatonic scale at whatever fret is on whatever note is on the 6th and 1st strings. That would be in melodic form. The moral of the story is, if you take a minor 7th, if you take a minor pentatonic scale and add a note, make the root a note that is a whole step below the root of the minor pentatonic scale, you have a 13th chord. Now, why do I call it 13th and not minor 13th or major 13th? There's that. Well, I didn't call it a major 13th because, I didn't call it a minor 13th because that would imply a minor third, and that's not as common of a as a choice to be the origin of that chord. It's more common that it would be the major third, which makes it then not a minor 7th, because a minor 7th has a minor third. So I'm gonna write in the major third on that. So if I have a major chord of some sort, why do I not make it a major 7th, a major 13th? That would involve a major 7th, which would involve a D sharp. I guess that's possible, but it's kind of ugly. If you make it a D, which makes it which is a minor 7th, which makes it an E dominant 13th instead of an E major 13th, you get this. It's prettier and more likely. So you're altering this chord, which would be an E7 chord, by adding the sharp, by sharpening the major third to an 11th, but then you're flattening the 7th, the minor 7th, to a major 6, which is also a 13th, and then you're flattening the sharp 9 to a 9, and you get an E13th. So that would be an A13th, B13th. Chords. Once you get your gist around it, the chords aren't really that hard. But the concept is hard, and then get your muscle memory to play them, and then just use them. They're not that hard. So he does a, so in the second solo section of the 6/9, he does a 6/9 chord, he does an E13th, and then he does a B9, like the word benign, right? Standard form of that, just 2nd fret of 5th string, 1st fret of 4th, 2nd fret of 3rd, 2nd fret of 2nd, and 2nd fret of 1st, and then back to the E13th. then this weird thing, it's an E major 9, and then to an E major, and then to an E major 7th. That's common. You don't need me to tell you that. It's fairly common. And then something like, he does something like, then he goes, I think he goes like this, and then maybe then he does a cool chord. It's an E sus4. Yeah, it's a cool chord. Well, I like that chord. This is an E major 12. It's 4th fret of 3rd string, 4th fret of 3rd string, 5th fret of 2nd string, 4th fret of the 1st string, and then that's low E. Then sharp the major 3rd on the 1st string from G sharp to A, which moves it up to the 5th fret of the 1st string, and E sus4. That's a cool sound to me. It reminds me of the song "Everybody Wants Some" when Eddie Van Halen is going. He goes, do that better. Well, he's doing a D sus4. Similar. All that, that's a D. The D sus4 above it. In this case, he has an A, the 5th below the D. But that's similar to E. You could make it more like Eddie's chord by going. But, you go all up the neck with it. You could go, let's see. What'd you do? You would go sus4. That would be like playing Everybody Wants Some in a different key. So you don't just learn a song by some great player and then play it over and over again and remind them like the gatekeepers and / haters probably do or have done for years. Learn the concept and make it your own and play with it and make your own stuff out of it. You know, why not go? And nobody's gonna know, or at least they take a second to go. That's Everybody Wants Some. But you get to make music out of it and just switch it up. You know. I just made that up, but you can do that if you know what you're doing, and so it works for me. And finally, he does an E13th up here. What is it? He does an E13th up here. You could add a third. You can take a 13th, like 12th fret of 6th, 12th fret of 4th, 13th fret of 3rd, 14th fret of 2nd, and add 14th fret of 1st, which makes a 9, which is still part of the E13th. There's an E major 7th, I think. Then a cool part that ends it, starts to end it at least, is an alternation between F sharp minor 7th and G sharp minor 7th. But it's taken a weird way, and I like how he does this. He takes an F sharp minor 7th, not an unusual chord. It's 11th fret of 4th string, 11th fret of 3rd string, 10th fret of 2nd string, and 12th fret of 1st string. It's F sharp minor 7th. He takes that as an F sharp minor 7th. Plays it as an F sharp minor pentatonic lick, or you could say A major pentatonic, but I'll say whatever, whichever one you want. A major pentatonic, F sharp, same notes, just a different way of looking at it, and that's cool. But then he changed it. Then he plays G sharp, and he doesn't just play. A G sharp minor pentatonic / B major. That's too straightforward and too linear sounding. just to go, not musical enough. What Jimmy does is he takes the G sharp minor seventh and takes that as the third, as an extension of an E major 9. Because if you put an E below a G sharp minor seventh, you get an E major 9. So if you have an E major 9, you have an E major pentatonic, which can be supported as a C sharp minor pentatonic. So over the G sharp minor seventh, you play a C sharp minor pentatonic, and then also back to the F sharp, play an F sharp minor pentatonic, and it's a better way of progressing. You can go. Sounds a lot better than if you just do linear up and down whole steps. I did that right. Yes. Wait, did I do that right? I did not do that right. I knew I did that wrong. Try it again. That it's very much more musical to switch it up. You know? Beautiful. It just changes it so that your two pentatonics are a fifth apart, so they're only off by one note. Or if you make it a whole step apart, they're off by two notes, and it's jarring to the ear. Then he goes back, and then he does a F sharp minor seventh. This ends it on an E9, commonly voiced. 7th fret, 5th string, 6th fret, 4th string, 7th fret, 3rd string, 7th fret, 2nd string, 7th fret, 1st string. And then it's a song. You're not expecting that, are you, when you're listening to that? Ends it like with a rock and roll kind of flair to it. So I'm finding myself becoming a student of chords, you know. It's not nothing. It's not nothing to study. It's actually, there's something there to study. There's things to learn about just the chords themselves. They're interesting, fun, and I like to play them. Live a Guy's Peace, Love, and Rock and Roll.